This is Rob Tebbutt for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. Delighted, as always, to be joined by Dmitry Salita, promoter, of course, former fighter as well. How are you, Dmitry?
I had a challenging day.
You certainly did have a challenging day. You are, of course, the promoter of a certain Otto Wallin. We were expecting to welcome Mr. Wallin over to the UK next weekend for his fight with Dillian Whyte. Apparently, at least, we are still waiting for official confirmation, but apparently that's not going to happen. Just your thoughts.
Well, actually, you were supposed to welcome him to the UK today because he was scheduled to fly to London today to get ready for his fight with Dillian Whyte. And, we heard the news early this morning and kind of working to find out about the situation and see what's going to happen in the next 12 to 24 hours.
Just mentioned there that we are still awaiting official confirmation. Where is Otto at the minute?
Otto is in New York City.
Right.
His training camp location.
And how did he take the news?
I mean, he's got it. I mean, he put in a tremendous amount of work for this fight. We're still in the midst of Corona, so to get sparring partners, to get logistically settled, and to make sure that everybody is tested and Corona free is difficult. And Otto did. We as a team did what we had to do to make sure that he has a great training camp, and he did have a great training camp. And to hear that Dillian Whyte, who was a heavyweight, that doesn't have to make weight, gets injured literally on the day that Otto Wallin is supposed to fly to the UK, sounds a bit suspicious to me, especially in the light of the fact of so many different articles where Dillian was quoted himself saying that I may as well pull out of the fight and fight Tyson Fury next, but I'm a champion and I'm going to fight Otto Wallin. Who knows what happens the week of the fight? Maybe he had a bad sparring session. Maybe who knows what happened? And possibly he's legitimately injured. That could also be. And whatever it is, if the fight does not take place on October 30th, it has to be scheduled for a later date. If it's January, February, March, April, June, July, August, whatever. But the next fight for both fighters, Otto Wallin and Dillian Whyte, should be each other.
Where are you contractually with that? Of course, it was a WBC interim title fight. It wasn't mandated by the WBC. I spoke to Mauricio Sullivan this morning. He said it's still obviously a developing story. He hasn't had anything official. But what do you sense happens here? I'm assuming there wasn't anything in the contract to kind of safeguard for a postponement such as this.
As you know, the situation is developing, and have not spoken with my legal team yet about the ramifications of something like this, but it was sanctioned for the WBC interim heavyweight world title. And we did see in the press the WBC being quoted as the winner of Dillian Whyte versus Otto Wallin will be the mandatory to Tyson Fury. If Dillian Whyte chooses to pull out from the fight for whatever reason, I don't feel that it's just for him to be rewarded with a better opportunity, with a bigger fight, with a bigger payday as a result of pulling out from this very significant fight. It's not right for boxing. It's not right for Otto. And I believe the WBC will make the right decision on this and order for this fight to happen in a rematch.
Just to go back.
In a redo, rather.
Yeah, I got what you meant. Just to go back on what you mentioned there about being somewhat suspicious. We spoke to Eddie Hearn a few weeks ago, of course, promoter of Dillian Whyte, and we, suggested that with the ruling from the WBC and would Dillian Whyte potentially withdraw from his bout with Otto Wallin, Eddie insisted that, Dillian was a fighting man, wanted to get in the ring, and didn't want to sit out. What are your personal feelings on this? Do you fit into that suspicious section of people who are kind of pointing towards the WBC ruling and the bout with Tyson Fury?
Well, I mean, obviously the fight was already announced, and what would you expect Eddie to say? Yeah, we're pulling out next week. I mean, I don't know. I can't say anything about that, but obviously it is very suspicious based on what Dillian has said. I mean, I've heard him say, I can pull out of the fight with Otto Wallin and go straight to Tyson Fury, but I'm a real fighter, I'm a real champion, and I'm going to take this tough fight and win. And you've had people from the boxing community suggest that he should pull out in different ways. Why is he taking this fight? Because people recognize that he's a tough fight. Maybe Dillian Whyte had a tough sparring session. Maybe he got dropped. Maybe he got beat up by a sparring partner. Who knows? And he slept that night, and he had a nightmare, and he had bad dreams. And he's like, man, why do I need to go through with this? All types of different things go through a fighter's head the week before the fight. It's just very unusual for a heavyweight who doesn't have to make weight, doesn't have to wear plastic, doesn't have to dehydrate himself, can eat whatever he wants, can eat as much as he wants. To get injured the week before the fight when you're really cutting your work rate to half and just kind of staying loose and staying sharp and regaining your strength so that you can be effective fight night. Very unusual for this to happen, and very unusual for this to happen the day that Otto Wallin was supposed to fly out to the UK. So, it kind of raises a lot of red flags. If he is legitimately injured, we obviously would like to have an independent doctors look at whatever results there are. And if that proves to be correct, this fight has to be rescheduled for a different date, and Otto will be ready to fight him anytime. The next fight for both guys should be each other. I believe that and I've seen stories posted on different boxing websites, and if you look at the fans' comments, I didn't look at all of them, but all the ones that I looked at are suspicious of what happened, and rightly so. And I believe that the voice of the fans is the most important, and I really believe that WBC will make the right decision for the sport of boxing in this situation, and order for both of them to fight each other next. If this fight is in fact not happening on October 30th, we don't know yet, but if that's the case, then that's obviously all signs point in that direction. But if it's rescheduled, they should reschedule for both of them to fight each other.
Now, I know that you've done a lot of work with Eddie Hearn over the years. You have a good relationship with Eddie, certainly from what I can see from the outside looking in. Have you spoken to him at all today? Has there been any dialogue between yourself and Matchroom?
We've had some dialogue, but again, obviously everybody's aware of the situation, but there's been nothing official to say that the fight is not happening. The fight is not happening on October 30th. Obviously, there's a lot of signs that point to that result, but we don't know about it yet, and we don't know, the ramifications of that decision if it happens.
Appreciate it's very, very much raw. But has there been any consideration as to a potential next move for Otto Wallin if it's not Dillian Whyte?
Well, we I don't even know. Hope is not the right word. We will work towards making sure that the next fight is versus Dillian Whyte. Okay. If Dillian Whyte is truly injured, then we'll wait for whatever amount of time passes for him to heal up. I think Otto will fight Tyson Fury next if Dillian Whyte is unavailable. But really, the right thing to happen is for both of them to fight each other, and then the winner of that fight can fight Tyson Fury, can be mandated to fight Tyson Fury. And I think from a boxing fan's point of view, the winner of the fight is the second or third best heavyweight in the world, and certainly would draw a lot of attention to the fight with Dillian and Tyson. It would be just think about it, for Dillian Whyte to skip this fight and then get rewarded with a bigger opportunity with Tyson Fury for a bigger payday, for a bigger stage. As a boxing fan, I obviously also represent Otto, but as a boxing fan, it rubs me the wrong way that you get rewarded for leaving Otto in the dust. He prepared a significant amount of time for this fight, sacrificed his family, his life, so many different, invested a lot of money, and a lot of emotional energy into getting ready for this fight. And if it doesn't happen, and this guy gets rewarded for this, it's not right. That's I don't think that's the culture that we want to build in the sport of boxing. And I know that many of the boxing fans, probably all the boxing fans, except the ones that are closely aligned to Dillian Whyte, agree with what I'm saying. And hopefully we'll see the right thing happen.
I'm not going to keep you too much longer, Dmitry, because I understand today would have been an incredibly stressful day, and I know you've been very busy. So last couple from me, should the fight take place, whether or not it's October the 30th or a later date, how does that fight end, Otto Wallin versus Dillian Whyte?
Well, I believe it's a great fight. It's a great stylistic matchup. But, yesterday, before we come ready to go to England, I watched some of Dillian Whyte's earlier fights when he was younger and better and more energetic, 2017, 2018. And I looked at him stylistically, and I just don't see how he beats Otto Wallin. I don't see it. It is going to be a smaller ring, but I do think that it could serve to Otto's advantage. So great fight. interesting fight, but I think Otto Wallin is the better boxer, is the better fighter, is smarter, younger, fresher, and I believe that he stops Dillian Whyte late in the fight. That's what I believe as just from a purely boxing point of view. And I want to say it's possible, again, maybe Dillian Whyte had a bad sparring session, had a bad dream, and thought to himself, you know what, maybe I don't have so much more fuel left in the tank. Let me cash out. Let me fight Tyson Fury. And maybe, and if that's the case, then then this fight should be rescheduled for a different date if he's truly injured, which is obviously also possible. And the only reason why I say this is because there have been so many rumors and things that Dillian said. And if he's truly injured, then the fight should be rescheduled for a different date. And then all will be fair and square.
And just finally, Dmitry, I've mentioned Tyson Fury's name here. Of course, somebody you know well, Otto, of course, fought him in September 2019, which seems like an awful long time ago, pre-pandemic. But yeah, great fight as it was. I was there in Las Vegas. Tyson Fury last weekend, well, not last weekend, the weekend before last, a fantastic fight against Deontay Wilder. You were obviously, from a professional fighter as well as now a promoter. I'm sure from a boxing perspective, and your boxing fan hat on, you would have loved the fight just like everybody else.
Amazing fight, one of the best fights I've ever seen. And people talk about MMA, the UFC. There's nothing in the MMA or UFC fight that can come close to the drama that you saw in that heavyweight world title fight. Nothing. So people talk about the sport of boxing, maybe taking a back seat or whatever, based on that fight, based on that performance. Two highly skilled, big athletes going at it, getting dropped, coming back, and each one dropping another one. The heart, the will, the skill in a fight where so much is on the line, nothing can compare to that. And it was a great fight. Tyson Fury is a great champion, and I'll take off my promoter hat here. As a boxing fan, I think he's great for the sport of boxing. I think he's a great person. I think that he's a great human being, and I think that he humbly understands his position and the power that he has. And I do believe that he's a people's champion, and is great for the sport of boxing. With his success, he's great for the sport of boxing because people love him because he's vulnerable in a way, and and he talks about issues that all people deal with, and he doesn't put himself in any way over and above anybody. He just knows that he's blessed with a great talent to be the heavyweight champion of the world, to be a great boxer, and from what I've seen, he uses it to better and to inspire people around him and people that watch boxing and to better the sport of boxing. So I'm a big Tyson Fury fan, and I love what he does for the sport of boxing. I love that he's overcome many challenges in his life to be where he's at, and wish him nothing but success. And he's trained by a great master in Sugar Hill Stewart, and I believe that both of those guys' mentality aligns. That's why it's such a great fit. And Sugar Hill is a great teacher, one of the best in the sport of boxing, the best for Tyson Fury. And I know that Tyson Fury is going to keep getting better and better. And he may be on the pound for pound list. So I will say all of this, until he fights Otto Wallin. Hopefully that happens. But Tyson Fury is 2 thumbs up as a fighter, as a person. Much respect and love for Tyson Fury.
I was just about to remind you of your promotional responsibilities there, Mr. Salita, but you did it for me. So yes, hopefully we do.
Well, I gotta, as a promoter, I still have to speak objectively, and Tyson Fury is the man.
Well said.
He's actually the man that beat the man that beat the man that beat the man a couple of times.
Okay, Dmitry, I appreciate your time. Thanks as ever for popping by and speaking to us here at Boxing Social. It's always a pleasure to speak to you. I'm sure you've had a very, very busy day, so I'm going to let you get back to it, and hopefully we'll catch up with you soon.
We'll catch up with good news.
Hopefully we catch up with some sort of news soon. Yes.
Not some sort of news. Good news.
Good news. Okay.
Some sort of news we don't need. We already had some sort of news. We need good news now.
Okay, Dmitry, thanks very much.
Thanks. Take care, man. Okay, bye.